It's time to take your MLB The Show game up a notch. With so many great players in the game and the Corbin Carroll theme team being so popular, there's never been a better time to steal bases. And so today, we're going to talk about how you can become a much better base stealer in MLB 24, and on the flip side, also become more effective at throwing out your opponents. Just like in real baseball, base running is taking over the sport. And we're going to talk about that today. Leave a like down below on the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. But first, we'll grab a quick word from Underdog Fantasy. Here we are, the back half of the MLB season, and there's never been a better time to get started with Underdog, especially when you use my code GOMES and receive a $250 bonus with a free special pick. Simply select the over or under on a variety of player props like Shohei Ohtani home runs, or whether or not Chris Sale's gonna give up a run in the first inning. I love playing Pick'em on Underdog because I can just throw $1 or $2 on a slip and potentially win money while I'm watching some baseball. What could be better than that? Like I said, get going with Underdog Fantasy today. Use my code GOMES and get a free $250 bonus and a special pick. Thank you to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring the channel. So first things first, you're obviously going to need some speed. Again, I do think the Corbin Carroll theme team is excellent. There's so many great cards that fit that theme team so you can get a great overall team. And of course, you're going to be able to run wild. So you see a squad I constructed. We've got guys like Willie Mays and Byron Buxton in the outfield, Bobby Witt Jr. there at shortstop, Tim Raines, who's nearly a guaranteed stolen base, but even somebody like Chipper Jones with 73 speed, 79 steal is plenty to get in most of the time. Not gonna lie and say that's gonna get you instantly into second base every single time, but you can definitely swipe some bags with that kind of speed. Once you start getting like Babe Ruth, 64-44, not so good. It's a good time to emphasize what matters with base running because the aggressiveness stat matters not at all. It doesn't do anything. It's a simulation stat. But the stealing rating is huge. That helps determine how quick of a jump you're going to get, and of course, speed. How fast you are. So let's look at some clips and deep dive into how to swipe bags in MLB 24. To target steal, you point the left analog stick at wherever the base runner is that you want to steal. So if he's at first base, you want to push the stick to the left, and you're simply going to tap the L2 button on PlayStation or the left trigger on Xbox. Then you're going to want to hold down L1 or left button and remain holding that down until the pitcher begins his motion towards the plate. That's when you want to release, and as you see, it directly correlates to when your runner is going to make the move. That's how to get the good jumps. If you just press the steal button, that I find a lot of times you can get bad jumps. It's really inconsistent. And of course, you always want to slide head first. No matter how big, how small you are, your chances of being safe are higher when you slide in head first. To do that, when you're approaching the bag, simply push up on the right analog stick. I can't tell you how many times I've seen clips of people trying to steal bags feet first, and when they would normally be safe, they end up being out just because of that simple decision. Of course, you do have to remember the psychology of things. When you're playing another real-life opponent, they are going to try and step off the mound, maybe pick you off. And I'm going to be honest, I can't tell you exactly when your opponent is going to try and trip you up and catch you attempting to steal. But from my experience, a lot of times they're going to try on that first pitch. They're assuming you're going to want to take off right away, and they might forget about that base runner the second, third pitch in. So patience, I think, is a virtue here. And this is perfect whether you're trying to get a leg up online against opponents or if you're offline trying to steal against the computer. It's great for showdown, give you that extra 90 feet. And it's also great for completing missions like this one for Tony Gwynn. Gonna be honest, it's definitely easier to swipe against the computer than it is against a human, so this is gonna make these missions a hell of a lot easier. But now let's talk the flip side, how to throw runners out, in which it comes down to two factors, your catcher and your pitcher. How do you pick the best line of defense against potential base runners? When it comes to catchers, I highly suggest you find somebody with the catcher pop time quirk. And we're gonna look here on showzone.gg. Simply go to their filter column, scroll down to what quirks players have. We're gonna select catcher pop time, and you will see there's not a ton of eligible bachelors here. In fact, there's no set 2 cards. You've got some set 1 giants like Adley Rutschman or 99 Gary Carter, and otherwise you're looking at some core cards, or not as great options. And I think that's another reason why that 99 Adley Rutschman has blown up in price, why he's gotten so popular. It's a big addition. You can see the differential between a catcher that does have the catcher pop time quirk and one that does not. It's a difference maker. And that could be the difference between your opponent being safe or being out. Now, if you ask me, I do think it's a bit silly that some of these catchers don't have that quirk. Like Johnny Bench, for example, who I think he did in previous years. One of the best defensive catchers ever. He does not have catcher pop time. Joe Mauer, who in his day was also known for being pretty effective at throwing out would-be base stealers, he also does not have that quirk. Otherwise, you're looking at arm strength. I think that's the only determining factor of an attribute that you should pay attention to. Fielding generally for catchers does not matter. It's mainly arm and block. And if those two are high, you've got a great defensive catcher. When it comes to the game, you're looking at a couple factors. How fast and what kind of pitch are your pitchers throwing, and how quickly do they deliver the ball to the plate? We have Pablo Lopez here, who you see, he does take a little bit. Even though he's in the stretch, the time it takes to get that ball to the plate is kind of a lot, and that tells you two things. If you're on offense, I might be able to steal on him. He doesn't have outlier. He threw that 95 miles an hour on a fastball. That's a decent spot to maybe run. And then as a pitcher, it tells you I gotta speed this up, in which you can try and slide step. In order to slide step, you select your pitch, hold down on L2 or left trigger. That's also another way to see where your opponent is. And you deliver the ball like that. It is a quick... I don't know what happened to Pablo there. Got stuck in the matrix. But it is a quicker delivery. You're going to have to be prepared and ready for the pinpoint or whatever input you have for pitching. But it's effective. And if it means getting the ball quicker to the plate, it's going to be very helpful in order to potentially throw out your opponent. Look at Matt Wallner. He's just frozen. Jesus. Stumbling like he came off Willie Nelson's tour bus. I don't think it's worthwhile to not use a pitcher because he doesn't have a quick delivery to the plate. If you really find yourself getting stolen a lot, maybe you can think about it, but generally, if your opponent gets somebody fast on base, you want to pay attention to that. And that is where you're going to think about, well, a fastball is probably going to make a bit more sense here than throwing a curveball or something that's nearly a guaranteed steal if they have an LED of the Cruz or Corbin Carroll with really high ratings. One other thing I want to touch on too is paying attention. I don't normally play with the game audio on, so a lot of times my opponent could be stealing and I'm none the wiser. I think changing your camera angle could help with this. If you went with a strike zone style camera where you can actually see the runner on first or second base instead of having to look up into the window, I think it could help and give you that edge to throw out your opponent. And there we have it. That's how to steal bases and how to stop it in MLB The Show 24. It's a major part of the game. As I mentioned, just as it is in real baseball, it's getting super popular, and as we're getting more and more players using the Corbin Carroll theme team and more people starting to steal, I've noticed it a bunch. These tips are definitely going to come in handy. If you guys have suggestions of other things that are giving you fits within the game, let me know, and we'll definitely make sure and talk about it. But if you did enjoy this one, leave a like down below, and thank you for watching.